My name is Jerry Langford. Update is the public affairs program of KSDW and K-Wave. No doubt everyone's familiar with the plight of homeless people in Southern California. Particularly in Southern California, we've seen their numbers swell, and they can be found at the beaches and public parks, around freeway underpasses, near storefronts, or even in motels. Our mild climate is no doubt an attraction to some homeless people who spend their lives as vagrants traveling from one city to another. But homelessness is changing in our area. The economy has hurt thousands of people who were already teetering on the edge, living paycheck to paycheck. Today, many of those people have lost their jobs, been evicted from their homes, and now find themselves living out of their cars. In Southern California, we're seeing homeless couples and even families with children in alarming numbers. For many people, this life consists of waiting in lines at food banks, periodic roustings, occasional arrests, and finding a place to sleep where you'll be safe. Many churches and volunteer organizations are doing heroic jobs trying to help people in this situation. In our communities, there are many fine organizations offering shelter, food, clothing, and support. Some of these offer a hand up instead of just a handout. And some offer extensive programs to help people be reestablished in the community. But there are still many homeless people not in shelters or programs who merely curl up in storefronts, alleys, bushes, anywhere they can find. Churches are often the last sanctuary of the homeless. This last week, two organizations fighting this problem have been, sadly, honestly, fighting among themselves in San Diego. And the flashpoint was at Cornerstone Christian Church in Vista. Today, we've invited the CEOs of those programs to sit down with us and explore this complicated issue. Hopefully, we can find some areas we can agree on and then work together to help those who are, as my friend puts it, the last, the least, and the lost. As the guest host of Update this day, I want to say welcome to Teresa Smith, CEO and board president at Dreams for Change, and also welcome to Chris Megison, president and executive director at Solutions for Change. Folks, thank you so much for coming to KSDW and K-Wave today.
Thanks for having us, Joe.
It's great to have you here, and I am looking forward to finding out more about your organizations and then hopefully exploring maybe some of the differences in our philosophy and our approach and finding ways that we can move forward. And I want to encourage our listeners to help tackle this problem right alongside with you. So let's start with Chris Megison. Chris, you're the president, CEO of Solutions for Change. Tell us a little bit about Solutions for Change.
Well, thanks, Jerry. My wife and I started Solutions for Change 12 years ago because we didn't think it was right for babies to be sleeping in winter shelters. And for me personally, it changed the course of my life when this little girl named Jessica pulled on my sleeve and said, "Hey, mister, do you live here too?" And, fighting back tears, I get down on one knee and I said, "You know what, sweetheart, I don't live here, but I'm going to do everything I can to get you out of the shelter and get you back into a home." And since then, Solutions for Change has led over 600 families, over 1,200 children out of shelters and out of cars and out of what we refer to as containment operations and back into homes with dignity and jobs and restaked and rehoused back in our community.
Fantastic. And you have a large staff, I believe, right? I know that Chaplain Dennis Bone is with us today as well. But how big is your staff at Solutions for Change?
We have a big impact and not a huge staff like perhaps a lot of other nonprofits in this area here in Orange County. We have 35 people on staff, but we have hundreds of volunteers. And really our strength comes from the collaboration that we've built within the community here, the nonprofits that we collaborate with and the other groups. And we're collaborators of all sectors of the community, so really that's where our strength comes from.
Fantastic. And Teresa Smith, CEO of Dreams for Change. Teresa, welcome, and tell us a little bit about your organization.
Yes, we're a fairly new nonprofit in San Diego community. We started about 3 years ago when the recession was first starting to hit the region pretty significantly. And the reason why Dreams for Change really started its mission and its vision is because of recession. We started working in other social services providers, we started seeing a new set of individuals coming through our doors that were usually first-time access to services. And they just didn't quite meet the needs of the services that were being provided or didn't quite fit the qualifications. So we started taking a look at maybe some different and innovative approaches to start addressing some of these issues and needs that we were seeing. And so since then, our safe parking program was developed, and we've moved on to a few other new projects to take a different look at how we can possibly address some of these issues that are occurring.
Teresa, thank you again for allowing us to find out about Dreams for Change and for making it a point to come here, along with one of your board members here this morning as well. Sarah, thank you for coming. Oh, well, by the way, I guess I should have asked Teresa, how large is your staff?
We're a fairly large, or small organization. I have 1 full-time staff and 3 part-time staff, with about approximately 9 social work interns that work with us and an additional 10 to 15 volunteers.
Yeah, and most of the organizations that I'm familiar with throughout San Diego County, Orange County, really rely on volunteers. But let's talk about the different approaches. Chris, you kind of alluded to it a little bit in your organization. You talked about long-term solution, long-term projects. Tell us a little bit about, if you would, Eden Solutions University.
Well, for the last 21 years after I served my country in the Marine Corps, I've been here in North San Diego County engaging the community around a vision of solving homelessness. And for the first 7 or 8 years, I worked with a nonprofit program that helped homeless men. Many of those men were on the streets of San Diego and around North County. But for the last 12 years, we've been fully focused on family homelessness. So 100% of our resources go into helping families move from places that, frankly, you wouldn't even want your dog to sleep in. Mm-hmm. So these are, places not meant for kids to be. Right. So we've helped the community. And so our model is a model of engaging community and working with the community here to get to the root causes, to solve it. Because, frankly, Jerry, from my 21 years, and I used to design and architect shelters. And what I learned early on is that these efforts don't get to the root. They don't solve it. They largely contain it. They manage the symptoms of it. And really, it's an effort to go deeper. And that's what Solutions for Change with the community is doing, because this isn't a Solutions for Change effort. This is a community of North County effort. And the collaboration has been absolutely phenomenal. I mean, we've been able to, we cannot do it on our own, and nor have we ever said we wanted to. It's really a community-wide effort.
Well, and I've had a chance to tour your Vista facility, and it is truly amazing. You have a great program there in place. I've met some of your graduates. I don't know what you'd call them, but some people have successfully been able to reestablish themselves in the community, maybe living on their own now after being homeless or homeless with children. So it's very inspiring to see what you're doing. And I would encourage our listeners to go visit these organizations and see them firsthand and meet some of the people involved, and you'll be also inspired. But Chris, I know that many of these programs have very strict standards. And, there are drug checks, there are all sorts of issues that can surface that can have somebody wash out of a program like the 1,000-day program that you offer. Where do those people go?
Well, first off, it's not just a 1,000-day program, Jerry. What we're really saying is access to resources that help people get out of homelessness and into homes. Mm-hmm. So it's just not Solutions for Change that we're getting people into. We're networking with an entire community to get people into the resources. So when people say, you got to fit in this little box, that's not accurate. We're not trying to get people to fit in a little box. What we're trying to do is solve family homelessness, one family and one community at a time. Mm-hmm. And we believe, and this isn't just me, but many in the Vista community and throughout North County believe that the shelter systems, which we would put the safe parking lot program in that model, mm-hmm. have failed the community. It hasn't worked. We've been using these models for over 30 years, and we have more homeless today, more impacts, we spend more money. And, when there's 483,000 children in America that are homeless this year, that's unacceptable, Jerry. So we just think that it's never okay for a kid to be homeless in a car, in a shelter, or anywhere, and so that's the vision. And I want to say that although I see the heart that folks in the community have, mm-hmm. Teresa's program, they come here, but the approach created a very messy situation for the Vista and the North County community because it wasn't a collaborative approach. Nobody knew that they were coming in. There was some talk about coming into North County, But in talking with the ARS folks and other nonprofits, I've talked to many, we did not know that they were coming into the community. So to appear and then to see kids living in cars, we went out with a message of hope. And I think it was a misunderstanding. This is not an argument between nonprofits. We are not arguing with Teresa and her nonprofit. What we're saying is it's not okay for kids living in cars. Okay. We went out with a message of hope that there's a way out of that parking lot for these kids.
And let me catch up our listeners, too, because we're kind of addressing an issue that we haven't really fully talked about in this program, and that is that how this came about. And that was that last weekend, Solutions for Change had a number of people out there protesting the Dreams for Change activities at Cornerstone Church in Vista, and they were expressing their disapproval of how this was happening. Well, what was happening is that Dreams for Change had set up a parking lot, a safe parking haven for homeless people to spend the night in their cars in the parking lot, either beside or behind the church. And they provided restrooms and the sinks and so forth, and support. So there is a fundamental disagreement between the organizations about how to address or help these people. So, Teresa, let me invite you to jump in at this point because, first of all, did I categorize what you're trying to do in Vista correctly, or is there more to it than that?
There's a little more to it, and so
okay.
let me kind of explain what really the safe parking program is. As you mentioned, it is a safe zone for individuals living in their vehicles to be able to come and get off the street, not park on the street where it is illegal, where they're subject to fine, and often become victims of crime. So that's the first thing, is let's get them off the street together. Then we provide intensive services nightly, 7 nights a week, with qualified case managers and social workers to really look at how do we move from this homeless situation back into housing. And as Chris mentioned, he sees us as a emergency shelter type model. And the reality is we're not a shelter model. We do not provide any type of shelter facilities outside of a porta potty with a sink, because we do value hygiene for them. And what we really are is really falls underneath what's called the rapid rehousing model, is that we are all about rapid rehousing. So we can prevent people from having to end up in shelters and move them straight back into housing and not end up on the street. Because we also see that their car is usually their last asset that they have.
Right.
And we also know that once they lose that asset and end up on the street, it is much more difficult to get up off the street. So our goal is for them to maintain that asset, provide them with a intensive amount of services, and really underneath that rapid rehousing model, which involves a lot of employment development, to get them to stabilize for long term so they don't have to even begin that cycle of homelessness. So really, I think where some of our differences lie is that we're addressing 2 different types of populations. We're looking at, we were a program that came out of the recession and what was going on in the recession. Well over half of our clients that come to our program that currently operate in San Diego are economic-based clients, lost their jobs, out of work, unemployment ran out, foreclosed on. And they just don't fit into the shelter model, nor do we need them to go into that model because it is an expensive model, whereas we can serve them for less than $5 a day and get them to move forward. Underneath the rapid rehousing numbers nationally from the National Alliance on Ending Homelessness, that has been the proven model, is the rapid rehousing model, and it is the most cost-effective and quickest model. Individuals, what they're showing is over half the individuals that follow the rapid rehousing model are housed within less than 1 month of assistance. And we see that fairly true within our program.
Now, your San Diego City parking program has been operational for how long?
We've been operating for just a little over 2.5 years.
Okay.
And at the 2-year mark, we had served over 435 cars, representing close to 800 individuals, with a success rate of rehousing people at 74 to 76%.
When you say rehousing, is that putting them into motels or into rentals or what?
It's a mixture between rentals and long-term type programs.
Okay.
Because we believe that, some families do need long-term type programs for long stabilization. And there's a host of variety of programs. So it is a combination of the two, but it's getting them off the street and out of the cars. Because we agree with Chris, no one should be living in their cars. It is not healthy for anyone. We see it. We see that deterioration within the families, within the individuals that are in the car. So that's our goal. So let's get them out of the cars and off the streets even, and back into housing and permanent solutions.
Well, let me pose this question to Chris. Chris, I know that you feel differently about these things, but I wanted to ask you, is the homeless problem in our community, is it too large for a single organization to tackle? I mean, you alluded to the fact that you partner with other organizations and ministries.
Absolutely, yes. It has to be really an all-hands approach, all sectors, all hands. And not just the nonprofit sector, but all the different sectors, the churches, the government, the businesses. There's so many different people that we engage and to work with. I would ask that people would stop characterizing us as protesting Dreams for Change, because it was not a protest of Dreams for Change. What we were there is offering hope and a way out of the parking lot. And if anything that we were protesting is protesting children that are homeless living in cars. So, and I really would like to raise this conversation. I really appreciate, Jerry, you also raising the conversation up. It's not about Dreams for Change, and it's not about solutions for change. This is really about the different approaches that a community can take to look at and address and try to solve or resolve homelessness.
Well, and I completely appreciate that. But now maybe I'm going to let my own opinion in here, but it seems like there are so many facets to the homeless problem. It seems like the more organizations you have working on it from different angles, wouldn't that be better for the community rather than saying your way is broken and ours works?
Great question. And the answer that I can give you from literally the dozens of people that work with us in Vista and nonprofit, and see, Teresa would know this, but she didn't come into the community and collaborate with any of us. She came in and opened up a parking lot program that nobody was engaged in. None of us in the community knew that she was going to do this. There was some talk about North County, but I met with the CEO of Lifeline yesterday, who runs the ARS, and Don said, we didn't know about this. I talked to the housing director at Oceanside. She didn't know that it was coming to Vista. I talked to the mayor of Vista and the city council members of Vista, who I've had relationships with. They didn't know. So the point being is by coming into a community and just opening up a program, that to me doesn't feel like collaboration. And so what we're simply saying is that if you really want to collaborate here, then it should be about working together around solving it. So we think there's a big difference between managing the symptoms of homelessness and solving it.
Okay, I want to give Teresa a chance to respond to that. Yeah. This isn't really a debate format, but I do want to make sure you have equal time. Go ahead, Teresa.
Yeah, I do take kind of offense to that we don't collaborate, because that is very untrue. We actually collaborate with multiple agencies across the county, to include North County. And the only reason why we're actually in North County is because it was requested from agencies throughout the North County region for us to replicate our program within that region. We attend multiple collaborative meetings within the region and have discussed this numerous of times. As Chris mentioned, Donald Stubb, North County Lifeline, didn't know about it, which is actually untrue. We had the conversation with him prior to that to see if he would actually want to use his facility as a potential location.
Well, if I could jump in, because I want to try to cut to the issue of homelessness more than I am about he said, she said, because to me, inviting the collaboration issue is a great one, and it's a point, Chris, that you've made well, and that is that it is really helpful and necessary, but it doesn't remove the fact that there is a need for homeless services in all of our communities. And it seems to me that if you have organizations come in, and clearly the homeless knew about it. I mean, because suddenly there were homeless people parking there, so there was a need, and I read about it in the press before the two organizations clashed, I guess, if you want to describe it that way. So let's get back to the issue of homelessness. The fact is that you have two different approaches. Solutions for Change would prefer a long-term or a different program in getting people out of cars. Dreams for Change, I think, wants people out of their cars, but recognizes there's an emergency need, and they're trying to fill that. And let's face it, it's difficult to get them out of cars. Chris, I mean, I know that your organization offered vouchers for people to stay in motels. I think when you went over there, or you talked with some people, is that correct?
First off, we get a lot of families out of cars, so those are the ones that we're really going in after here, Jerry. Yeah. We want to get these folks out of the cars because that's really, like Teresa says, that's one of the last things they have left. But we want to get them before then. What's next? I mean, there's nothing, and so.
But do we have the resources to move everybody who's in a car now, whether it's a family, an individual, a couple, into temporary housing or something? I mean, are the resources even available? I would think not.
That's what we're doing in Vista and North County. We've brought together over 350 different entities, different groups, different churches, different nonprofits around a vision of solving this problem by creating more of those resources.
Okay.
And so, like you just said, the mom with a 15-year-old, she has pins in her back. She couldn't sleep in the car. She was at the parking lot. We offered her a way out. She's in our program now. So she's out of the motel. We had to put her up in the motel for that 1 or 2 nights. And then we're able to do our assessments because, figuring out what's really going on is a very important thing in all this, Jerry, because if we just start, giving people stuff, and not go deeper, then what are we really doing? And what we're really doing is what I feel personally, 21 years, and I've slung a lot of sandwiches in my early years, right? It's enabling people. And so what we're asking the community to do is go deeper. Go deeper with us. And I just want to say the rapid rehousing model, I know it well, very well. I mean, I've been invited to Sacramento to sit on the boards up in the Capitol. I've been invited to D.C. to talk to folks about these different strategies. And nowhere in the rapid rehousing models are parking lots. Nowhere, okay? Rapid rehousing does not include parking lots. Lifeline does rapid rehousing. They get money, vouchers, and they put people into housing immediately. So I take offense to, this idea of parking lots or shelters being part of the rapid rehousing model. It's not.
Teresa, I just want to give you a chance to respond to that, if you had a response.
Yeah, I do. It's as far as a response even to the model, there always has to be an entry point, and that's just it. And that's what we are, is that entry point into those systems. Mm-hmm. And we work with those other systems who has those dollars, those housing assistance, and provide some of that screening, intake, and services. And I agree with Chris. It goes to some of the, we need to address some of the root of the problems. And looking at the population that we serve, most of the problems are economic based. And so that's the route that we go to. So working within that, it's the employment development that's key, and sustaining and building the assets. So we provide intensive financial education with our clients to really build their strengths so they don't end up back in the situation again when they hit upon economic hard times. For us, it is still along that lines of, yes, rapid rehousing. You're right, there's no specific thing that says underneath the guidelines a parking program is a rapid rehousing, because it's innovative, it's unique, and it's an entry point. It's really a street outreach type point to really link people into those systems.
If you're just joining us here for the update program, our guests today are Chris Megison, President, Executive Director, CEO, really, of Solutions for Change, and Teresa Smith, the CEO and Board President for Dreams for Change, based there in San Diego. Solutions for Change, you're in Vista, but you're in other parts of the community. Is that correct? You have more than one facility.
We're in 5 cities.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us really quickly what some of those facilities look like?
Sure. The main program is called, the entire model is called Solutions University, 1,000 Days to a Permanent Solution. But just like any solution university might have, we have different components of it. So we're able to react and respond to various different needs of the family. So we're not saying go through the 1,000 days for everyone. What we're saying is that if you're homeless, let us look at it from a holistic position. We have places in the county unincorporated area between San Marcos and Vista. We're in Fallbrook, Bonsall, Valley Center. We just opened up another 48-unit, or we just purchased another 48-unit apartment complex for permanent supportive housing, which, by the way, permanent supportive housing, there's been many, many, many studies, and I see Teresa shaking her head, so she knows this. It's really, really important to note that is the newer model that the communities are moving to, more access to homes like permanent supportive housing with education components built in, job training, disability assistance, and health access to health solutions. So this is the kind of model that Vista in North County when it comes to family homelessness, has really gravitated to. We have 4 mayors on our leadership team, a congressman and his wife. We have 5 global corporations underwriting this theory of change. So those things don't happen, because people don't think the strategy is just an okay strategy. They happen because they think the strategy is an awesome strategy.
And I think no one's taking issue with that. You've been around for 12 years. The organization, Dreams for Change, has been around for only a couple of years. And I can see that maybe in time they'll get to that point. I don't know.
Well, honestly, no, I don't think so, because that need's already being met. And for us, I see that as a wasted resource, because there's agencies and entities that are already doing that. And if they're doing that and they're doing it great, well, let's support them and continue to use that. But permanent supportive housing, yes, it is a great model. And it's a great model usually for chronic and multi-episode homelessness. But once again, the individuals that we particularly serve is not that same population. And it goes back to the breadth of the issue of homelessness and the multifaceted approach that we need to take to really solve homelessness as a whole across the board. It's not just with families, but with individuals, because they're eventually going to have families.
Yep.
And if you got to stop that cycle with the individual, and it has to be a very comprehensive approach and not just one model.
Well, when I think about various organizations there, I think of Bread of Life over in Oceanside, Pastor Steve Bassett running that, East County Transitional Living Center, ECTLC doing a great job down in El Cajon, and they have a program very similar to Solutions for Change. So I know that there are organizations out there and churches, countless churches, that are providing food and clothing and sometimes even shelter. But Chris, let me get back to you for just a moment. Are you saying that those shelter programs are ineffective and the churches should just simply stop?
No, what I'm saying is that we need to go beyond shelter, and that's a whole different strategy. So we're not saying that human beings shouldn't have shelter or shouldn't have food. What we're saying is that how you address that problem is you become what you do. So just like a friend of mine says, every organization is perfectly designed to get the results they are getting. Well, I could say the same thing about a community. So if we've got millions of people in this country who are homeless or about to become homeless, and we're throwing, shelter beds and Band-Aid programs at it, and it keeps getting worse, then maybe we need to stop doing that. Maybe we need to move into another strategy. And that really is the point of this whole conversation. And I'm so glad that we have it. It's a core of the issue. It's not about Dreams for Change, it's not about Solutions for Change, but what it is about how this community of Vista and North County are coming together and collaborating around this vision. And I just go back to, why can't we all work together here to get this problem solved? If it's about solving it, then let's bring everyone together. We need everyone at the table to come together around the vision of solving this problem, not managing symptoms, Jerry.
Teresa.
Okay. And then, and I guess for that, and I agree. So I extend the invitation again is to join the collaborative effort, the Alliance for Regional Solutions. Come to the table and talk with the group, the community, who are having these ongoing conversations about how to address this as a region and from a regional approach, because it involves more than just one city. It's, in San Diego County, we have over 10,000 homeless individuals. And so we have to take a regional approach to the issue in order to address it. And it's going to take agencies throughout the entire county to come together to make that happen. Let's continue to collaborate and work towards those solutions. The networks are there.
Well, and I appreciate you both bringing your points to the discussion. I'm not sure that there's going to be some agreement on that, because there seem to be two fundamentally different views about resolving the problem. At the same time, you, as a listener, may feel differently. But one thing we can agree on is that homelessness is fairly rampant in our communities, and something must be done. There are needy families, needy children, needy couples every night that struggle with this issue. And my heart breaks for them. My heart goes out to them. And I applaud both of you and your organizations for the work that you're doing. I appreciate that tremendously. And I applaud the many volunteers who are out there, many of them in churches all throughout the community. But I would like to see us try to tackle this problem from every vantage point we can. And I don't know that maybe one solution or one method is going to resolve it. It might, and maybe that's what it's going to take, is to tell everybody else to stop doing what you're doing and let's all try this one method first. And maybe that's the tough love that's really needed in our community. Or maybe it's that we invite more organizations to try different methods to help people where they're at in their various needs. Well, I cannot believe this, but we are already out of time. And I guess I just want to give you an opportunity to have some final comments. Oh, I'll just mention this very quickly, that both organizations have expressed a desire for our listeners to help out in any way they can. And you can do that through donations. You can do that through financial support, whether it's bottled water, blankets, clothing for interviews, for example, journals, trash bags, gas gift cards, hygiene products, non-perishable foods, toys for children, folding chairs, bedding, socks, towels, washcloths, paper products, office supplies, of course, just regular baby needs, gift certificates, backpacks, school supplies for children, canned goods, peanut butter, pasta, coffee, and books. There are just all sorts of ways that we can help. If you can't get involved and volunteer your time and give of yourself or get your organization or church involved, then I would invite you to consider raising funds for these things or providing these needs on an ongoing basis, maybe a monthly commitment to each of these organizations, because they are doing fine work. Who would like to go first? Anyone want to jump in with some final comments? Teresa, would love to have your comments.
No problem. First, I'd like to thank you for having us be able to come here and speak with you on the show. But when it comes to homelessness and addressing homelessness, it's such a tremendous issue that our country is facing, our region's facing, and it really requires a multifaceted approach. There isn't going to be one solution that fits all. We see that day to day with our clients, and it's really how do we come together as a community to address the issue and to solve this problem across the board so no one has to go without a home, so everyone can get a good night's sleep and be able to be productive citizens in our country. And we hope that these conversations will continue in the community.
Yes. Because
it's these kind of conversations that really bring action and change. So we encourage everyone to continue having these conversations.
All right. Well, that is Teresa Smith from Dreams for Change. And by the way, you can find out about their organization at dreamsforchange.org, or you can call their office at 619-497-0236. That's 619-497-0236. Again, dreamsforchange.org. And Chris?
Thank you so much, Jerry, for inviting us in today. It's really great to be here. And I just have to say I'm so excited about this opportunity to go deeper with Vista and the North County community around solving it. And I agree with Teresa. This is a multifaceted program. It's got a lot of different layers of complexity. But you know what? I have great hope, and I see great hope in our community here that we really can solve this. We don't have to continue just managing the symptoms of homelessness. We can get to the root. We can solve it as a community. And I encourage everybody to continue this conversation. It's a great conversation. And come to Solutions University. Come see the hope that lives there. Come see and meet the families that have lived in cars and have been in shelters and have got out of that and have gone on to live great, healthy lives. And so, again, thank you. We're really excited to be here and to have this conversation. And we just hope that we can all come together. It's about cooperation, not confrontation. And we hope that in moving forward here, we can move in the spirit of working together to solve this. It's a huge problem. We all need to come together and solve it.
That's Chris Megison, the CEO of Solutions for Change, and you can find out information about their organization at solutionsforchange.org. Let me give their number as well in case you want to call or ask any questions. 760-941-6545. That's 760-941-6545. And again, their website is solutionsforchange.org. Thank you both, and thank you all for joining us here today. I wish we could have spent a couple of hours talking about this issue, and perhaps we'll have you back so we can continue this discussion. You've been listening to the Update program. The views and opinions expressed on Update do not necessarily reflect those of the ownership, management, staff, or sponsors of this station. We welcome your thoughts and feedback. Send them to Update program, 3000 West MacArthur Boulevard, Suite 500, Santa Ana, California, 92704. Thanks for listening, and God bless.